Welcome everybody to Drum Education Live episode number 86. Before I introduce our very special guest, don't forget, subscribe to the channel, press the bell. Besides this one, there are 85 amazing episodes. We had Billy Coven, we had Mike Johnston, we had Don Famularo. And today, believe it or not, there's another drummer in London called Felipe, which is not me. There's another drummer in London called Felipe that has a beard, which is not me. There's another drummer called Felipe in London that wears a beard, is a drummer from Brazil, was born in January, and it's not me. It's my friend Felipe Amorim. Welcome.
Thank you for this phenomenal introduction. I think it's the best ever. yeah, it's a pleasure to be here with you guys. I would say it's a responsibility, to be talking to you guys. Wow, after we mentioned all those big names that have been in the show, but I'm just gonna, I just want to enjoy my time with you guys.
We too. So you're gonna match them up. Don't worry, it's gonna be fun.
They're all just people like you and me.
That's what I like to believe.
People who bang things.
Yeah. As Dom says, just people like you and me that hold wood in their hands and bang plastic and metal.
And make some noise. That's all it's all about.
And then Dom says, and then when I organize the noise, I get paid.
Or if it's a bit chaotic, but people don't actually notice, you can still get paid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a flexibility there.
Yeah.
All right. Let me start with the first question. How did you get started playing the drums? And what year was that, if you remember?
Well, it started in 1998.
Wow, last century.
Yeah, last century. I was 14 years old, but my first experience behind the drum kit was, I think I was about six years old. And my dad, well, he knew every bar owner in my hometown. And everyone owed him either a few beers or some money, so he had a good reputation there. So he took me to this bar just across the road, and the bar was closed, but there would be live music at night, and the gear was there. So, and we asked to play. Can we grab the instruments and make some sound? And the owner of the bar has done something that I think he shouldn't have done. So yeah, go on and play. He didn't own the instruments, right? The musicians were not there, but he allowed us to play. So my brother went straight to the guitar, like right away. He grabbed the guitar. He wanted to play the guitar. I didn't think twice. I went straight to the drum kit, and I started. I think there was no drumsticks, so I started hitting with my hands. And the first thing that really fascinated me about the drum kit was the kick pedal. I was like, wow, that's really interesting. You step on this thing and, the beater hits the head and makes some noise. I was really fascinated about it. And I was really, really small, so I couldn't actually reach everything. But I remember the drum kit was white. So my first drum kit was the same color because I asked I want a drum kit like that. But obviously it took years, we didn't have the money for it. And so that was, as I said, when I was around 6. When I was 14, my dad bought me my first drum kit, and then I started having drum lessons on a weekly basis, and that was really cool. Yeah, really cool.
Cool. Sure.
Yeah.
Did you have lessons, or how did you self-taught? Tell us a bit more about the education side.
So the funny thing is, I did have lessons in a kind of local music school, and everyone in town would go to the same music school, and they didn't have a really organized program for lessons. Like you and the teacher, you guys know how it is. Some you guys, there's loads of people in the industry. They don't. Unfortunately, they don't have any preparation. They just take the students, and it's like, what do I do now? So it was a bit like that, the guy was a really good drummer and actually a really good guitar player as well. but his main instrument was drums, and he started teaching me, but just showing grooves and writing them down. So, oh, let's play this groove. So I had no idea what the rudiments were, or or not even how to hold the sticks properly. It's like, yeah, just play a groove. Oh, just play another groove. Now I'm going to play guitar with you. So there's a kind of a downside to it, but the positive element of that was I was jamming all the time from day one, because he would bring his guitar to every single lesson. So I was playing drums with another musician from day one. That was a positive take of that. And so because it wasn't that organized in a certain way, I started organizing the lessons myself. I started going home with those things like, wait a minute, this should have come before that. So that maybe if one day I'm teaching someone, I'm going to teach this thing first, and then we'll go to that one. And I was so fascinated with the learning process that I actually started teaching my cousin after my first lesson, because I went to his place. He was a guitar player and piano player, and he was the only musician in the family. And he was like, so what did you learn? So, oh man, it's so fascinating, the coordination, the pedals and stuff. So I was teaching him the things I was learning. So from day one.
So all you need to
be
basically all you need to be a teacher is find somebody who knows less than you. That's all you need.
Exactly. I didn't know anything. He knew less than that. So but yeah. No, but it's funny because obviously it wasn't a lesson, but I was so fascinated by it because I was like, I just want someone else to share this knowledge with, because even if it's just the one thing I understood today, I want someone to learn. Obviously, I wouldn't charge anyone for that. I was a teenager and I was learning, but then my cousin was like, "Yeah, teach me that," and then I started asking him about guitar, and some of my friends were guitar players. They started teaching me some basic chords, so I got into guitar and drums at the same time.
Cool. Mm-hmm. And you said that you just played grooves and there was no mention of rudiments or anything. How long did it take for you to hear about the rudiments?
Maybe a couple of years, really, because you know how hard it was. No, not anymore, but how hard it was in South America to have access to books and proper information. There was no YouTube. Remember, that was before the internet, guys.
Yeah, I know.
Or before the internet actually became accessible. Yeah, you know better than me. So it took me a couple of years to start.
It's another way to call me old, but that's fine. I'll take
it. I'm not calling you old. I'm calling you older.
Oh, all right.
I'm also old. So yeah. So basically, so I started hearing about it. Obviously, my teacher knew the rudiments, but he just didn't organize in a kind of logical fashion, let's put it like that. So I started asking him about it. He started teaching me some of the names and stuff, single strokes, double strokes. So I was actually playing singles, doubles, flams, paradiddles without knowing what those things were. And then I had a teacher who's a phenomenal drummer, Braulio Mairinchi. I got to mention his name. You know him. And he was the opposite. Completely organized. Every lesson had a plan, and he was really, really focused on technique. So from that point onward, I think I was playing for about 3 years. So then I started to actually understand technique and focus on it. And also, I've made a decision to be a professional musician by that time, even though I wasn't qualified enough.
Well,
wow, who says?
Yeah, exactly. What qualifies a person to be a professional musician,
Well, if I can answer that at the time.
Yes, you can.
For me, it was just the will of being a musician. I really wanted to. The desire was my qualification at the beginning. Because I said, you know what, if I'm not good enough, I'm going to become good enough on the process.
You thought you might not be good enough. When I got my first professional job, was like, I didn't even think about it. People said, "Can you?" I said, "Yeah." Could I? Probably not.
Isn't it the best attitude? Just just go for it, and if it works, it works. My stepdad says to me that I'm like the crazy footballer who kicks the ball and just runs after it and tries to catch the ball instead of like, taking the ball with me until the coach starts. I'm going to kick the ball as far as I can and try to reach out. That's what I did. It was like, okay, I want to be a professional musician. I want to be literally like swimming with the sharks. Really, I was there like with loads of professionals around me, and I was always struggling to kind of play at the same level. So my first band with my cousins was just fun. We're playing Creedence, playing Beatles, Bob Dylan, that kind of stuff, and some Brazilian rock, from the 80s, and that was fun. And there was no need to be good. It was like, just play as well as you can play and have as much fun as you can have, which is okay. Then when I was about I think 17, I joined my first professional band, which was a jazz band. I was like, wow, I can't play this jazz and Brazilian music, and I just had to learn the songs. So I said, okay, I was listening to the songs and I couldn't quite figure out what the drummers were doing, the recordings. So like, cool, can I play something that works with that song? Okay, cool. So I started. So I had to kind of shift my focus from the drum parts to the melody. So if I understand the melody and I know the bar countings and I know the dynamics and I know what's going on, and I play something that matches the melody and the song, even if it's not the original drum parts, it should somehow work. So I started from that point, and obviously trying to learn something from the original recordings as well.
Cool.
Kira? I would like to know who your influences are.
Oh, these guys here. Yeah, so it's funny thing is, before I started thinking of drummers, I was, listening to rock music without actually thinking much about it. So I was into the Beatles, Creedence, Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, that kind of stuff. So the first drummers who influenced me were Ian Pace, John Bonham, Bill Ward, Bill Bruford, Alan White. I can't forget. Who else? I wasn't really into Keith Moon at the beginning because I wasn't familiar with The Who, but then I liked him as well, but not at the beginning. So my first influences were those guys. Nick Mason was like massive for me at the beginning because I had a VHS. Wow, that's old. VHS, Pink Floyd live in Pompeii. And it's like, there's so many shots of the drums, and it's fascinating. And Nick Mason is in his best shape on that video, and so I was really into his drumming as well. Mitch Mitchell from Jimi Hendrix Experience. God, so many influences. And for the ones who know Brazilian music, there's a guy called João Baroni, who plays in a band called Paralamas do Sucesso. He's a fantastic drummer. And I was really into Os Mutantes.
Just for Kira and the people who don't know João, he's considered the Brazilian Stuart Copeland.
Yes, exactly. Because the kind of music they play is very similar to the Police.
Yeah, they were heavily influenced by the Police in the beginning, and then obviously the band is 40 years old, and now they're branched out to some more Brazilian styles. But in the beginning they were heavily influenced by the Police. You can hear that Stuart was a huge influence on João. But there's on their second album, the first single of their second album, there's a drum intro that is very challenging and has nothing to do with Police. He came up with that himself, and he was only 22 years old. Yeah, and up to this day, that intro is very challenging. I'm going to put the link in the description, and I'm going to send it to you.
Oh, yes. Yeah, please. Yeah. Let people know about João Baroni. He's phenomenal.
Yeah, he's phenomenal.
And I had the chance to see him from behind his drum kit on stage, because I was supporting them on a gig. And I met him on backstage as the nicest guy. And I watched the whole gig from behind the drum kit. So, that's one of the best drum lessons I ever had in my life. And also, I mentioned Os Mutantes, which is one of my favorite bands from São Paulo. Gino Leme was the drummer, and is like, again, phenomenal drummer, and he was really into Brazilian music, and they were a rock band, so he was kind of bringing the Brazilian elements, Brazilian percussion ideas into rock and roll or psychedelic rock kind of stuff. So he was another big influence. And yeah, I mean, God, I got to mention some of my teachers as influences as well. André Queiroz is well known as a drum teacher and percussionist and drummer in Belo Horizonte, which is one of the biggest cities in Brazil. And he teaches at music university there. And people know him as Limão. That's his nickname, Limão. André Limão, phenomenal jazz player. He was my teacher for a few years. Jean Dolabella, who played with Sepultura, now plays with a band called Ego Kill Talent. He's also a great drummer who was a big influence for me because he was my teacher as well. So yeah, all those guys, God, I can't, so many, so many influences, I'm still trying to, find people to inspire me. So.
No, love it. The more the merrier, I think.
Watch Kira. She's going to inspire you. Watch Kira.
Yes, I've seen some of her videos. I am already inspired by her. Yeah, she's amazing.
No.
Question is, you're from a small town, and then you moved to the big city. Why was that? What made you make the move?
From the beginning, I had the impression that the music scene in my town wouldn't lead anywhere. Not professionally, right? So there were like good bands, some nice music festivals, and some small pubs and venues where you could play. But to actually make a living as a performing musician, right? I could be maybe teaching music in schools or doing other stuff, but I wanted to not only teach but to perform live. And so it was essential for me to be in a city where there's more live music and more well paid. So I had two options. I could move to Rio de Janeiro, which was really, really close, like a couple of hours away, which for Brazilian standards is nothing. So yeah, because my hometown has, it's really close to the border of my state in Rio de Janeiro. So and the other option was the capital of my state, which would be 4 hours away. So it would be a longer journey to the capital. But I just felt like it would be a better idea because I thought it would be a safer place. And I knew a couple of people there. So I've moved to the capital, Belo Horizonte, which is a city that I love. And it has a fantastic music scene. It's a wonderful place. Everywhere you go in Belo Horizonte, there's live music. There's someone playing acoustic guitar and singing, or a live rock band, or jazz, or samba. They like 7 days a week. You can pick the music style you want to listen to. You're gonna find a place in Belo Horizonte. So that was a big move for me. It was harder to move from my hometown, Juiz de Fora, to Belo Horizonte than it was to move from Brazil to the UK.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, it was a big shock. Because there's some world-class musicians there, and everyone. I was teaching in a place called Pro Music, so it's a music school, and the teachers, all of them, they had a degree from America or somewhere else, and I was the only one. I was the youngest teacher, and it was the one without formal qualifications, let's put it like that. So maybe I was qualified enough to teach and play, but I didn't have the same CV as the other guys. So I really needed to prove myself. So big challenge, got there, started teaching, started gigging, and working 7 days a week, like walking sometimes to the music school to save the bus money, like really tough, but yeah. I needed to move. So answering in a short way is I needed to move because I couldn't just be limited to the reality of a small town.
Cool. Kira.
So then what came about in your life that made you think UK is?
Oh, funny. That's right. I wanted to have a degree in music, and I wanted to do it in any English-speaking country because, maybe I thought that's going to be better as proper international qualification. So the options were America or the UK for me, the most like clear options. And I started thinking about, well, when you're older, because when I was leaving Brazil, when I decided to leave and do something else. By the way, I love my country, and I love the music scene there. I love, what I've achieved there. And I think I left in a really good position where I could just say, okay, I had enough, but not, I had enough of the bad things. I had enough of the good things. It's been really a really good journey here. I want to try something else. And, sooner rather than later. So I was like 30 to 31 years old. So at this point in life, you kind of wonder, where would I like to live? Not only, play music or make progress as a professional, but what kind of lifestyle do I want to have? And I love America. I've been there before a few times, but I felt more connected to the British culture somehow, because I grew up watching Monty Python and and listening to the Beatles. I thought maybe that's more the kind of stuff I'm gonna feel comfortable with. And so I had to learn a couple of things like sarcasm and drink. Become fluent in sarcasm and drink Guinness and 5 cups of coffee a day. So as soon as I got into that, I'm a big fan of fish and chips, so it all helps, right? So it was kind of a cultural choice to move to the UK. Yeah.
How long have you been here?
About 8 years now. Still getting used to it.
Nice. I wanted to know how it was that you two met, because I've been loving the Instagram weekly, sometimes more than a weekly, posts about each other.
No, we need to clarify. There's the weekly meeting, but that's not the only meeting. We meet many times, but that is the weekly meeting.
Yeah, because we're playing in some jam sessions in Soho, and I'm fortunate to be in 3 regular jams as the house drummer, and Felipe is my official dep. So he's doing those. I used to be his dep as a teacher at the studio,
exactly,
and now he's my dep as a drummer, as a jam session. So
it makes life easier because people don't need to learn the name of the drummer.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think Jake Vegas never noticed. Or the singer I play with, when Drago is doing the gig, he doesn't even know it's not me. The hair is the same, I guess.
No, the hair is definitely not the same.
Well, like if he tied it back.
So, let me see. Yeah. Look, do I look more like him?
Yeah, with your hand on top.
Right, that's gonna make the cut.
Same person.
How did we meet? Well, was it Don Famularo's seminar, or was it before? I don't remember.
It was before, because when you came to London, Braulio gave you my connected us on Facebook.
Yes.
And then when you were still in the doing the degree, you came to visit the studio.
Yes, I came to visit your studio. Yeah.
Yeah, and then we got along quite quickly, and then a couple of months later I was going to Brazil, and then I asked if you would like to teach whilst I was in Brazil.
Oh yes, I remember. You know what? That was an interesting thing. Because I have the same sort of teaching style. I keep track of every single thing I teach per lesson, and I had the chance to look into your students' records, and that was quite an inspiration for me to get into the books I haven't been to and check the material and the stuff you were teaching. So I kind of had I had to prepare myself for some of those lessons, and that preparation was a really, really interesting learning opportunity for me. It was really cool. So it's like you gave me lessons. Was it about like 3 weeks of teaching? Something like that?
It was 3 weeks.
Yeah. 3 weeks, and I was teaching all of your students. So I spent the whole day in the studio, learning the stuff I needed to teach and stuff. That was really fun.
Yeah, it was probably at that time it was around 20 lessons a week I had.
Yeah. So then we started meeting on a regular basis, to talk about drums and talk about whatever, and drink coffee.
Yeah.
As I said, say bad things about everyone else and good things about us.
Yes. So you came to London to study, right? Where did you
Yeah.
study?
ICMP, the Institute of Contemporary Music Performance in Kilburn. It's a course provided by the University of East London, but it's
Oh,
in
okay.
ICMP.
So
Yeah.
it's a degree. You have
It's a degree.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a degree in music performance. They have all sorts of stuff there, like um, songwriting, production. But I wanted to do music performance. That was my
Cool.
thing from the beginning. So
Nice. Kira?
How would you describe your playing style?
my playing style. Ooh.
Yeah.
I want to see your answer now.
Yeah, your presence,
my
sound.
playing style. Wow. Psychedelic upside down Texas shuffle with samba.
Well,
Well, you asked for it, right, Kira?
I just came up with this. God, how did I play? Do you know what? Nowadays, my playing style is Latin blues, if I can call it like that. Is what I play the most, because I bring some elements of Brazilian music and Latin music in general into blues, which is what I do with a band called the Black Diamonds. Jake Vegas and the Black Diamonds, we're playing like about 4 to 6 times a week everywhere in London, or in Soho mainly. And they are a blues band, but they allow me to play things in any way I want. And they do some stuff that has elements of samba, rumba, other stuff. So I kind of bring a bit of jazz and Brazilian music into that. But it's kind of impossible for me to get rid of classic rock. Because when I grew up, I was listening to classic British rock and Brazilian music. That was my thing at the beginning, because my dad would be playing his records like only classic rock, mostly British. And I would spend the weekend in my uncle's countryside house. He had kind of like a farm, really, like countryside house. And he would play Brazilian music, like his Brazilian music records. So weekdays, rock and roll, weekends, samba. So I think, my playing style is something between samba and classic rock. If that makes sense.
love it. Yeah.
I think the other one thing that's very important, and that's what probably made you get the gig with the Black Diamonds, is you like to learn songs, because because especially blues, people think, oh, all I need to know is 12/8, shuffle, and swing, and that's it.
That's it. That's the biggest mistake. The blues is the easiest style to mess up with. Because I love to hear people saying, "Oh, yeah, I can do that. It's just blues. It's just blues." I mean, it's just the style that started everything. One of the most complex, actually really complex music styles, because it has so much historical background to it, and people have no respect. I mean, you need to respect who you serve. If you're serving an artist, they deserve your respect. If you serve the music, which you always do, the music deserves your respect. If you're playing blues, get into the blues. If you don't have too much time, you're going to learn the songs for the gig. You learn the songs and play the gig. But as soon as you have time, listen to the artists you're playing, check 1 or 2 of their albums, get into the style. The thing about blues is lyrics are as important as the chords or solos or grooves. So if you don't know what the lyrics are about, you can't play the blues with confidence and with the respect it deserves. And when Drago said you're going to learn songs, because I can just keep the shuffle going. Yeah, is that playing a song? Do you know where the stops are going to happen? Do you know which version of that song your band's playing? How many different versions of that song exist out there? Are you going to do your own? If you are, do it intentionally, not because you didn't listen to the original one. I'm going to do it my way because I didn't learn the original. no, I'm going to do it my way because I've listened to the original. I took the main ideas from it, and I'm going to make it my own. You can never play exactly like someone else. So it's worth trying because you're going to get something out of it. You know, you don't need to think about being original because everyone is creative. Well, everyone who intends to play an instrument has some creative potential. So you will eventually come up with ideas, even if you don't want to. They're going to just come out naturally. That's how I believe things happen. So try to copy something, try to sound like something, and then you're eventually going to find your own way. But yeah, if you don't listen to the songs, if you don't get into the records and the original albums, then you're just being a drummer, not being a musician. And people prefer to work with musicians, believe me.
True.
Yeah.
Kira?
I want to talk about any hard lessons you've had to learn. I feel like people, when they listen to things like, you know, podcasts, that they really connect. They connect to your journey, but they connect to the struggle because we all have them, and they want to know how you overcome it. So I'd like to know, have you had any really difficult lessons, and how have you got over it?
The hardest lesson for me, well, the same thing happened twice in my life, when I moved to the capital and when I moved to the UK. The hardest thing is to be the new guy in town. Who are you? No one knows you. Well, I've been doing this for 15 years.
No one knows you. No one cares.
No one cares, and they don't have to care.
Exactly.
Because no one is demanding more music. You know, it's just there. You know, artists do what they do because they want to do it, and if people eventually connect to it, because, oh, there's live music, let's come and see. It's not something that is like mandatory for society to exist. So you're kind of trying to force your way into something to provide a product that initially no one asked for. They know it, they know it's essential. Music is essential, but people don't actually think about it. They just take it for granted. So if you're the new guy in town, you're trying to get into a market that exists. It's mainly established with some people who have been doing that for decades, and you're the new guy. And for me, the hardest thing was like, okay, I'm in London, no one knows me, I can't speak English properly. What do I do? Because if you can't win an argument, how can you convince someone of something? How can you convince people that you're at least good enough for the job? How can you get into a pub conversation about music and get to know people? So I think being the new guy in town, being the new guy in the country, and not knowing the language properly was the biggest lesson. And I had Drago was the only connection I had in London. I didn't know him. So I had literally zero friends in town. So how do you make your connections? And
how many do you have now? 2?
Yeah, about 200. Yeah. Yeah. So, but yeah, I think you need to prove yourself. And when you know the opportunity is not going to come easily, you're not allowed to fail. Basically, that's what it is. You might not be perfect, but you can't fail. So I'm going to mention a guy that was a great mentor for me, great teacher, Jimmy C. He was a blues singer, guitar player, songwriter, died a couple of years ago. Phenomenal human being, phenomenal musician. And he was playing about 5-6 gigs a week. I met him in a jam session. I jammed with him and said, oh, I like your drumming, man. Cool. And I said, okay, someone said, I like your drumming. And I was working as a waiter. After like being a professional musician for like, I don't know, 10, 15 years, I was working in as a waiter. I was like, okay, I like this, but it's not what I want to do. I want to be a musician again. And this one guy said, I like your drumming. So maybe he's going to hire me for a gig. That's my chance. But he never promised anything. He just said, I like your drumming. So what do I do? How do I connect to this guy? So I found all of his gigs and I started chasing him like a stalker. I was going to every single gig Jimmy was playing around town. I said, okay, he's got 5 gigs a week. I want to get 1 or 2 of those gigs to start with, maybe 3, maybe I get all of them. I don't know. So I started chasing him and I started taking notes on my phone. Every time he played a song, oh, okay, he plays a song like this. Drums come on the second verse. Okay, cool. And oh, he plays that Rolling Stone song like this. Okay, cool. So, and I was taking notes of songs, and if I didn't know the song, I would ask him or the bass player during the break, oh, what's that? What's that song you just played? Okay, cool. And then going home, and as Felipe said, listen to songs, not only learning grooves, was listening to the songs, memorizing them. And one day, after seeing me on every single gig for a month, he said to me, I think I need to give you a gig, right? You want a gig. So yeah, I want to play a gig with you. So I'm going to give you a Tuesday playing only my original stuff. And I was like, oh, damn it, I don't know those. I was taking notes of the covers. And so now that's my only originals. You're going to play with me, and the money is not good, but it's your first chance. So yeah, I'll do my best. So I've played that gig, and then preparation comes into place. So I called the venue, asked what kind of gear they had, what time the sound check started. So when Jimmy gave me the information, I said, oh, I know already, I know what to do. I'll see you there. So I turned up, played the songs on the spot without knowing the songs, without knowing the grooves, because I've prepared for something else, for the covers. And he liked my attitude, and that was my first thing. So I think the biggest struggle is being the new guy in town, which I suggest everyone do at some point in your life. Be the new guy in town. Go somewhere else. Go through the struggle. Go for that experience of not knowing anyone and not knowing what to do. Then you find your way out of it.
Not knowing anyone, not knowing anything.
Yeah. Anything. Not even the language.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Biggest struggle ever. Really.
True.
Yeah.
I would like to ask you about because your experiences in London are with music styles that people don't think they are worthy of a drummer, to be honest. You know,
Yeah.
the blues, and you played for many years in a Pink Floyd tribute band.
Yes.
And,
So I've
and I think playing Pink Floyd is a lot harder than it looks. What's your opinion about that?
It's true. Well, most things are harder than it looks, you know. I mean, so so I actually do the underrated gigs, right? It's just blues, and it's just Pink Floyd,
Yeah.
right? And then you get in there. So I've joined this band, What the Floyd, which I helped to come up with the name for. So What the Floyd was made of established musicians who were like at least 15 years older than me. So I was the youngest guy in the band again. And they knew Pink Floyd inside out. I'm very familiar with Pink Floyd, and I actually thought I knew more than the average listener. And they were mentioning versions of songs that I never heard. And I was like, oh, I've got to listen to that. And they were mixing versions. So we're going to play the first two verses, like, you know, the 1994 version, and these, you know, listen to the group for the solo is going to be the 1986 live version, this and that. So I had to listen to loads of recordings and try to capture the feel of that version and mix with the groove of the other one. And so, yeah, it was a constant preparation thing. Also, we only had the chance to get together, the whole band, plus the light engineer, the sound engineer, for one long rehearsal to prepare for a tour. So you need to know your parts. And at the very beginning, we didn't have a light engineer, and everything was in sync with click tracks. So I was playing to a click track, and the lights was synced with the click tracks. A friend of mine asked me, so what if you guys do something wrong? Because like you miss a bar or something. I said, well, that can't happen. But what if? And I said, well, it can't happen. But did it ever happen? No. We're not prepared. There's no plan B. You can't fail. And the fans are the ones who know those songs better than you. Are they going to be pointing fingers? Oh, it doesn't sound like Pink Floyd. So you need to do it, you know, properly, and you need to know what you're going on about. And after the gig, if someone's going to come and talk to you, they know the lyrics. They know, you know, they're going to ask, what's your favorite album? So you got to do your research. So everything is an academic research. You're going to get into a new band, do research. It's the same thing I did when I worked with Jack J. Hutchinson, which is the opposite of What the Floyd. As an original artist, I need to go through his, you know, whole catalog of music to know who the guy is, you know.
So do your homework, basically.
Yeah, do your homework.
What keeps you motivated?
Human interactions.
Okay, wow, that's deep.
Yeah,
I love
that's
that.
what gives me, because I think music, it's nothing but a really good excuse to get people together.
Yes. What's your take on social media then? Do you think that's the death of interacting in a sense?
I think it's a tough question. It is the death of interacting if you only interact with people through social media, right? So I was teaching in person today, and I'm talking to you guys through Zoom. So you can have both. So
Yeah.
social media can be just one more way of communicating, or you can make it your own way of communicating, which I don't recommend. So I think there's a lot out there in the real world, real gigs with real people interacting face to face, talking. So the internet, okay, the internet and social media, they're tools, right? There's many ways of using a tool. You can say the same about drum technique. Felipe said that to me once, like, so what is Molar? What is, it's a tool. You have it. If you don't have it in your toolbox, you might miss it. You might think, oh, I wish I had that tool now. So if you know how to have a good presence in social media, if you know how to interact with people in the virtual world, the same way as you can interact in the real world, that's a tool. You can use that tool for your own benefit. But if you overuse it, might not be that good. So it's all about balance. Everything's about balance.
Cool.
Right.
All right. Thank you very much, mister. It was a pleasure interviewing you.
What a pleasure talking to you guys. Seriously, it's what you guys do is very inspiring. I think everyone should check the channel out. I think it's as I said, and I will insist on this, music is a great excuse to get people together, and drumming is the best part of music. So talk to drummers. The drum teacher is the nicest guy in the music school, and the drummer is the nicest guy in the band. So get together with your drummer friends, talk about whatever you want to talk. And yes, thanks a lot for inviting me. It's been a wonderful experience for me, and I will do it again if you want, because I could talk for hours with you guys.
I know you can talk for hours.
Who knows?
So nice to meet you finally, and yeah.
Come to the meeting, right?
Yeah. Every Thursday.
I don't want to impose, but
every Thursday, 11 a.m.
You might have to change your name to Felipe and your nationality to Brazilian.
Okay.
But...
That's fine. And then just like pen on.
Yeah, that's it. That's the easiest part.
It's fine.
That's the easiest part.
Yay!
Bye-bye.